Good evening, everybody. Get this organized a little, see if I'm on. See if you can hear me. Looks like it. Okay. Get this organized awesome. A little, see if I'm on. 1,782 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room and his life was taken from him. And this was an internal crime because he was a whistleblower for criminal trafficking that was tied to the Mexican cartel and, of course, his chain of command and El Paso and officials in El Paso, individuals that held important roles, and also businessmen that held important roles. And why did this involve so many people? Well, this is a billions of dollars, just the substance abuse, criminal trafficking, that begins with the F, coming through the border is, last time that I read, was $90 billion, $90 billion, just that. And there's all kinds of trafficking, right? There's all kinds of criminal trafficking in this. And today we're going to talk about the breaking news that we got yesterday. And I put it up as breaking news again because just confirming everything. And it is something that you have to double take. It's such a huge indication of what's going on in our son's case. Today is June 19th, 2025, and we have Corpus Christi, right? We have those that are celebrating Juneteenth, but for Christians, we celebrate Corpus Christi. I know it's primarily a Catholic holiday, but I just love Corpus Christi. I just love it because of the history that I have with it. It is really the honoring and of the Eucharist, the body of Christ. It's a little bit of a sad holiday, but then it's also very relieving and comforting to know that we're redeemed, right? We are redeemed. So it has not so much an Easter vibe. It kind of sounds like that, right? But it really is honoring the body, the flesh, the blood of Jesus Christ, being fully man and yet fully God. It's such a miracle that God became flesh, that he took on the body of a man and suffered as a man, even though he was God. So, it is a very spiritual and very beautiful and very humbling day today to think of Corpus Christi. So what they do in Germany that I just loved is they would take flowers, petals, seeds, sand, soil, compost, bark, moss, and they would make these beautiful Christian symbols representing different parts of the Bible and everything. And people would put that, make that in front of their house every year, and you could walk down the streets and you could see these absolutely beautiful pieces of art commemorating sorry, it's late, Corpus Christi. And that things are physical, but they're spiritual. That's what it's really. It's kind of like the Council of Chalcedon, if you like theology. Very man, a very man, and very God, a very God. That's what this day to me is really represents, and I hope everyone had a good day. And this is how the truth is. The truth, and in this case, in this breaking news that we have about Nidal Baem, who's been, a really huge figure in Richard Halliday's case, in our case with our murdered son, from the very beginning. And we knew it was really, really big when it happened. We knew it was really big. And, the truth, it seems like it's something that you can't touch, you know, um, but that's not true. It's very patient. Truth is very, very patient, and it reveals itself, and it reveals itself by manifesting itself. And I think that's today the breaking news about Nidal Baem is really the manifestation of a truth in this case, and several truths in this case. So let's just review a little bit about Nidal Baem. He's a Palestinian arms dealer that worked for Western Frontier Trading LLC and other things too. He has his hand in a lot of things, but he worked for Western Frontier Trading LLC in El Paso, and it is veterans owned, and they sell a lot of different things. Um, but they also sell arms and ammunition. So much so, I mean, big deals. Like they put in a bid, Nidal Baem put in a bid for $3 million in ammunition to the El Paso Police Department. Um, so it's a big deal. It's not, like a little business. And we didn't know who he was. Um, we were there in El Paso, and we received a phone call from a cashier at a Dollar General that um, we had met some Dollar General workers in downtown El Paso when we were doing a rally. We went downtown and stood downtown handing out flyers and using our bullhorn and letting people know about Richard Halliday. And we would talk to people. And there were some young people that were just, well, we met so many magnificent El Pasoans um, and service members, that really told us a lot of things going on. And this group were just super friendly. And if you've ever been to El Paso, even with what they're going through, it is a really beautiful city and has really a wonderful culture. Besides the Mexican cartel and all the criminal trafficking, this billionaire group that wants to ruin it. But, and I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm talking about the real El Pasoans. And we met a group of young El Pasoans, and a couple of them happened to work at a Dollar General. And they were so nice and caring, and they asked if they could take some of the flyers with them, extra ones, and that they would hand them out and that they would put them up on the Dollar Generals that they work at. And we were like, absolutely, 100%. We gave them the flyers. A few days later, we received a phone call. Ma'am, a man came in here and it's bad. It's bad. You need to come. You need to come to the Dollar General. And so we made a quick U-turn and we went there. And this was less than an hour after the man had left. But a man had come into the Dollar General and announced himself to be an FBI with the FBI and told the cashier to take down the flyers that they had placed on the door and even on the freezer, the ice door outside, to take down the flyers, that the case was closed, that it was over with, the search was over with, um, and used the authority of the FBI to demand that, and used the authority to announce that the search was over, which is criminal, okay? Especially when you don't show a badge and when you're not an FBI agent. But he was an imposter, and because he has those connections, he has really uh, a huge law enforcement and people in authority surrounding him. He has, family members that have that kind of authority, and so he just borrowed it. He borrowed their authority to announce that it was over, to tell what he knew, and what he knew was that the FBI had been looking for Richard's remains in Mexico and in Juárez, Mexico, and that they had found him, and that Richard was no longer alive, and so it was over. And so the witnesses in the Dollar General, um, we recorded that on video, and we recorded the CCTV footage of him, and this was less than an hour after he had left. And we turned that in to the FBI El Paso field office, and to the CID, and to the command. And, um, you know, I think there was panic. I really do. I think there was panic. And their response to us was, he's just some guy. They went in absolute cover up mode. And because of the panic, they could not form an adequate narrative to give to us. So it was obviously a cover up. It was obvious that they weren't doing their job. It was obvious that Nidal Baem, who we didn't know his name, who he was, it was 2020, so he was wearing a mask, and we were told that he was a nobody, nothing to worry about. Don't look here. And that wasn't adequate, not when we knew that our son had been murdered, and we knew then that our son had been murdered. We really couldn't say it because we didn't have the declarations at that time, right? We didn't have the declarations. Now we know that he was murdered in the line of duty on Fort Bliss. We have overwhelming evidence, and even the prime suspects have been named by the former coordinator for anti-terrorism and homeland security programs on Fort Bliss. He's a whistleblower in Richard's case, Judge Roger Rodriguez. And so, the evidence was so thorough that even without giving us our son's remains, because of the cover-up, right? Because of the cover-up of the cover-up. Don't forget, they have a cover-up of a cover-up, okay? That they absolutely had so much evidence that they could declare Richard murdered in the line of duty on Fort Bliss. So, so the the accountability in getting our son's remains, um, are still what we're looking for in all of this. And and we know that the FBI have the jurisdiction over the remains of our son. And so months went by, and we investigated constantly. Okay. And there were a lot of things going on at the time. Um, and we kept going. We burned the midnight oil. We burned the midnight oil to find out who Nidal Baem was. And we found out. And I called him and I talked with him. And he wasn't just some nobody. He wasn't just a nobody. He's number one. And it made us cry, because of the lies, the betrayal, the mutiny, the betrayal of Richard's command. Because every step of the way, when we found out this information, it was confirmation that Richard had that his life had been taken, and it was taken by those that were supposed to be looking out after him, right? That they were supposed to be, leave no soldier behind, and that they had betrayed him. So when we found out who he was, and that he was the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, which was Richard's command, it just shatters you. It makes, whew, it still shatters us. But it gets worse. It gets worse. Because they lied to us. They knew who he was. And they knew that he was absolutely connected to James Courtney Hart, Leilani Hart, Dallas Hart, who are CID Tavita Nusa, who had his badge terminated in 2021. They knew, and they've proceeded to cover up the cover-up, right? To cover up the cover-up. And it's been, they've had to shift a lot of things and cover up a lot of things. And they absolutely know that, Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader in the 32nd ADCOM, right? In the 32nd ADCOM. And so they absolutely knew Bradford Bugado. And also the Western Frontier Trading, okay, and other LLCs. But it gets even worse because Nidal Baem is connected. Well, he's a Palestinian arms dealer, and he's connected to the cartel. He's connected to Willie Moya and to Arturo Alba, who were, their lives were ended with a gunshot, cartel style. And so things were, and you can look that up, Willie Moya, big leader, big cartel leader. And Arturo Alba, who, of course, is a connection to the media, right? The media, because we know the connection with Univision and KTSM and Bob Moore of El Paso Matters and Telemundo. So the media is really the jefe capos. The media is the jefe capos. They are the disinformation agents, cartel tied, that are really trafficking disinformation or trafficking. They're the ones that turn the crime into a media story, covered up, put a band-aid on it, manipulate it, twist it, whatever, um, to mislead the people, absolutely to mislead the people, and to divert attention and to avert any kind of scrutiny and accountability. And so it gets even, because absolutely Nidal Baem, and you see that his wife, Isis Chavira, is absolutely connected to the the LLC, the A&R Chavira Auto Group, um, that is connected to Richard's car and trafficking Richard's car. And that is connected to Bob Moore, y'all. That's connected to Bob Moore through Raquel Primo. She's the R in the A&R. And Alex Chavira is son of Manuel and Teresa Chavira. And they are big law enforcement people connected to Nieto, the FBI. I mean, so Nidal Baem has this family connection, and it's with all the businesses, the real estate businesses, um, and with law enforcement, with the media, with the cartel. Okay. So, and he's saying, you know, Richard's remains were found in Juárez, Mexico, and he never thought that they would say anything. He just demanded that they stay silent, but they didn't. They didn't. And I think that the secret was so big that I guess he had to tell somebody. And sometimes you just feel so protected when you have Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, who is the media jefe capo in El Paso. When you have Chavira, the chief of police for the El Paso ISD. When you have the connection with Teresa Chavira, who was investigator in the El Paso Police Department, and then over these groups of victims. It's just like you can't make this stuff up. And then you have your son-in-law in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, and you also and it gets worse, and you also have family ties to Gustavo Sanchez, married to a Chavira. That was just happened to be the Texas Ranger that was assigned to our case. You feel very, very like emboldened that you can commit crimes with impunity, and you can even brag about them. And that's what he did. I think he just felt very, um, emboldened to even be able to brag about his crime. So, but times have changed. Times absolutely have changed, and there is a new sheriff in town, and his name is President Donald Trump, and he is absolutely investigating. There are ongoing and active cases. We have confirmation of a lot of active cases in regards to our son. And, yesterday I even posted up what he said, that he used to be the hunted, but now he's the hunter, which means he's investigating, y'all. And of course, he's investigating El Paso. Of course he is. Of course he's investigating Fort Bliss. Of course he is. He's the commander in chief. And El Paso is the front door of the United States, and really the epicenter of criminal trafficking. the epicenter of criminal trafficking, which would mean that they are the epicenter of money laundering. Okay. And money laundering you can do through Walmart gift cards. You can do it through the Walmart finances. You can do it through LLCs. LLCs. You can do it through strip joints, right? Um, and many different ways to money launder. And that's the epicenter because it's the epicenter of criminal trafficking. And if you're making these illegal funds, um, you're going to have to wash them, right? You're going to have to wash them. So this is why there's absolutely investigations going on, and those investigations create panic. And you saw that in the 45 when Trump was 45, his first term, 2017, 18, 19. Why Richard even lost his life was because he was a whistleblower and a witness to the criminal trafficking activities that were going on there, that confirmed and corroborated what President Trump was investigating at the time, what he was saying at the time, his truth at the time, in order to I don't even want to say shut the border. That was never the intention. The intention was always to vet the border, to control the border, and who was coming in and out of the border. And they didn't want that. They were making so much money. And part of making that money is to take advantage of migrants, take advantage of them. And that's why you saw Fort Bliss turn into the death camp. 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked through Fort Bliss. And I say 10,000 at a time because the camp that they built there, and Fort Bliss is huge, okay? Fort Bliss is huge, could sleep. It had 10,000 beds, So 10,000 at a time, they were trafficking through Fort Bliss, hundreds of thousands of children, 17 and under, for all kinds of reasons. And most of those now are feared to be not alive anymore, not alive. Um, and so, this is also, I mean, that's, if that doesn't make your jaw drop, that's why there's investigations going on. That's why they did not want Richard to corroborate what President Trump was doing, because they were making loads of money, y'all. Just on the contracts of those 10,000 beds, the supply side of creating a death camp made them loads of money, which is disgusting, which is despicable, which is satanic. And they promoted it through the media like it was benevolent, and it wasn't. So they absolutely make loads of money off of taking advantage of the migrants, especially when they're illegal. They can really take advantage of them. And it's, call it what you may. It is really criminal. Because what they do with all of them, you have to look it up yourself. It's just, and just get a tissue box. If you're sensitive like me, I have to cry when I read all this stuff. It's just really heartbreaking, and I'm happy to, because I want to stay human. I want to be humane. I want to stay human. I don't want to have a hard heart and like these people that are just absolutely sick. They're just absolutely sick. So, his life was taken because Richard had a soft heart. He was absolutely not going to spend his money on whores and blow. He was not going to spend his money on criminal activity. And he sure wasn't going to go along with it, the Vanity Fair He wasn't going to go along with it. And so he became a whistleblower for, uh, against, for the children against these cartel criminal traffickers. And, and the media that was absolutely decided when Richard would not be compromised that they targeted him. It was Bob Moore. It was Bob Moore's group that targeted Richard from the very beginning. And we're getting information that even from Qatar, Richard was making complaints about what was going on. And we can corroborate that because we talked to him and he told us. He told us it started in Qatar when he was deployed. So, so now, here we are in 2025, and we have worked very, very hard to maintain Richard's case, to make sure that nobody could sweep it under the carpet, that we could keep it open, keep it active, so that we could get accountability and find out where our son's remains are. And we know that the FBI El Paso field office has the jurisdiction over our son's remains. So this is where we're at right now. And President Trump is a seasoned president. He's number 47 now, right? He's had a lot of learning curves in these years. And so he absolutely went in full force. And so the cases that we presented today about Nidal Baem, because there's no if, and, or but when it comes to Nidal Baem, okay? He has become a liability for this criminal trafficking network, okay? Be it law enforcement, be it military commanders, be it business owners, be it a billionaire. Nidal Baem has become, because the evidence is so overwhelming, that he has become a liability to them. And so Western Frontier Trading has now sued not only Nidal Baem, but his wife, Isis Chavira. And when that happened, and they've, this is not like a newlywed couple. They have a very long history, a very long history. And so right after this case, this Western Frontier Trading decided to sue Nidal Baem, and I told you that I'm sure that they were not happy, that there was a lot of panicking, that there was a lot of cussing, a lot of kicking doors, a lot of punching walls, a lot of, when all of this happened, because he's just key. He connects it all together, right? He connects it all together. Richard's unit, Richard's command, the cartel, the law enforcement community that's involved in this, the businesses, the money laundering, Leilani Hart, of course. He connects it together. And so they're suing him. They're suing him and his wife, Isis Chavira, which, of course, for the community, for the public, they now know that what we have been saying is right all along. This is hard evidence for the public without Bob Moore twisting it and turning it, covering it up, hiding it like he did the Mayella Crucius family connection in the Walmart case. Um, now the public knows that what we have been saying, we've been right all along. And very soon after, right away, immediately after that happened, Isis Chavira filed for divorce of Nidal Baem. This long living couple, right? I mean, they've been together a long time. Um, she filed for divorce. Now, this is not just any kind of divorce, y'all. It is a turbo fast divorce. It is so fast it makes your head spin. And we know that there is a lot of property. There's a lot of property involved in this. They're into real estate. She's a real estate agent. There's a lot of warehouses, a lot of property involved in their family. So this is a very quick, it's a panic. It absolutely proves that they are preparing for other things to happen. And that there is absolutely a panic in their midst, and there is active and ongoing investigations that are circling or even there. So this is really huge jaw-dropping news, and I can't tell you how important it is for you to share all of this, because we're, of course, going to be shadow banned. Where they're going to try to cover this up as this is happening. Uh, I hope not. I hope the media, because there's been a black ball on covering Richard Halliday's story. Think about we're part of the Annunciation House case. We're part of other cases. And the magistrate court findings of these the disenfranchisement of El Pasoans' voter rights, because all those so-called judges are now illegal. They're supposed to be, the law requires that they be elected, and they haven't been. That's huge. That's huge, because we're a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and they're disenfranchising voter rights. The chief medical examiner is illegal and unqualified and has connections. He has connections to this criminal group, okay? Mario Raskin Ortiz. He has connections to this criminal group too. And we've uncovered that. And of course, the Mayella Crucius family connection in the Walmart mass shooting case that was in the federal courthouse, in the DA's office, in the FBI field office, in Walmart cybersecurity. That this family, that the media said Patrick Crucius had no connections to El Paso, that he randomly chose El Paso, was all a lie. It was all a lie. He has huge family ties, not only in El Paso, but within the law enforcement and judicial system, and even in the Walmart cybersecurity, and in mental health. And so his plea deals are totally defective. They are totally defective. And so that case is not over with, y'all. It is absolutely not over with yet. Um, so, where is the media that is not reporting on this. You see that it is a blackball because the media, they're complicit. We've exposed James 2028 Stamp Montoya, that he's not a legitimate DA. We exposed Bill Hicks as also not a legitimate DA, a usurper. Uh, they did not install properly as the law requires to that position. Therefore, Yvonne Rosales is the legitimate holdover DA. We've exposed that Bill Hicks brought in cartel, tied Luis Rene Diaz, tied to Arturo Alba, tied to Willie Moya, the same cartel individuals that are connected to Nidal Baem and Bob Moore and the Chaviras. And, you know, uh, so, and of course, the command on Fort Bliss. Um, to think that our military would be trafficking weapons and equipment and um, ammunition and everything like that um, is absolutely what's going on. Okay. Uh, Truckloads of it, truckloads. And that's why I was very, very happy to see the military parade. It was absolutely like an audit for the American people to see, to judge for themselves what our military looks like. President Trump, the commander in chief, put it on display, and uh, really happy to see that. We need oversight. We need oversight, and it looks like we're going to have to do it ourselves because of the level of corruption that has crawled into our agencies and our institutions. And we need to set things right. And so we're asking, thanking everyone for your support and to share this information because the cases, this Western Frontier Trading case against Nidal Baem and Isis Chavira is absolutely hard evidence that we've been right all along and that President Trump is right. And so this needs to be shared. It needs to be talked about and what it means for the way forward. Um, accountability is coming. Justice is in the air. And it absolutely confirms that because of the panic of the divorce, the panic of this case, and you can read through it. We provided the numbers, and you can absolutely read through these cases, and we'll be talking about them more. There's other huge breaking news going on behind the scenes when it comes to Raquel Primo and her connection with Richard's car and with her connection with Kathleen Gannon of KTEP, which is NPR PBS, who is the wife of Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. And the targeting of Richard. The targeting of Richard that began in 2019. And so we've been right all along when it comes to saying that the Walmart mass shooting was a result of the investigations that were getting traction because of the witnesses and whistleblowers like Richard that were corroborating what President Trump was saying all along and what he was investigating and auditing there at the border. So the Walmart mass shooting was a absolute, there's so many things. Of course, it was orchestrated. Of course, there were multiple shooters. So our narrative is truthful. It is absolutely not what Bob Moore put out there, what the media put out there. The plea deals are totally defective because Patrick Crucius absolutely was tied to El Paso in a huge way. And so it shows that there was that the white supremacy narrative does not hold water at all. The random choosing of El Paso doesn't. That's totally debunked. Um, the um, the orchestration is displayed in the audio recordings that we have of the defense attorney that was appointed with an open checkbook to defend Patrick Crucius. The whole timeline of Joe Open Checkbook Spencer, it reveals that, he's talking to Judge Madrano and Judge Guadarrama about taking the case and not wanting nickels and dimes, but wanting an open checkbook. And then on the 5th of August, he is already on the case, already charging taxpayers, already visiting Patrick Crucius. Patrick Crucius didn't even have a competency hearing at the time. This was less than 2 days from the shooting, or exactly 2 days from the shooting. And it was already approved and everything. And guess what? Judge Samadrano wasn't even assigned to the case yet. He wasn't even assigned to the case yet. So I've put that timeline together. That should be shared everywhere. Look at it. It's really shows how the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated. Um, there's just no doubt in my mind that there were multiple shooters, and that the truth is going to come out. Um, why they did what they did. 23 lost their lives, dozens injured, huge case, and why there was a cover up of the cover up, and all of uh, the betrayal of our of individuals that were supposed to be doing their job, and they didn't. They were absolutely traitors. So, all of that needs to be shared um, over and over and over again, um, because millions of dollars they've taken from people. I mean, grand theft, larceny, and all of this, because it's not just that they want to do their dirty crimes. They're doing it to everybody, okay? Because it's grand theft, larceny, millions and millions of dollars just for the Walmart case, just for Richard's case, and I can't even tell you the damage they do with the criminal trafficking. It's billions of dollars. So, please share this information and share it with your um, authorities around you. Do not even expect them, to really, you've just got to be very patient and go over and over and over again. And God does the work. God does the work if you do the work. We're in communion with God, right? We file. We identify the crime. We document the crime. We file the crime. We file it and file it and file it and file it. And God does the work. And it's just amazing to see. And it just puts an awe in your life, an awe that when Corpus Christi comes, or Easter comes, or Christmas comes, or you're just ready to celebrate, because we have absolutely, through all this, can you imagine we found out who Nidal Baem was? That story is just, I can't tell it yet, how we found out who he was. It was absolutely the hand of God. And that those instances that will be in the book Okay? They will all be in the book that we're writing. Um, it will just, you know, it has just, it gives you a faith that passes understanding, right? A peace that passes understanding, a faith that is beyond anybody's comprehension because it's miracle after miracle after miracle. And you just see God's hand over it all. So it is, um, and this, if you would have told me on my bingo card, people like to say that Western Frontier Trading would be suing Nidal Baem and Isis Chavira and it would force them to get a quick divorce, um, I wouldn't have had that. This is just the hand of God on all of this. And so, uh, please share. That is, please pray, please share. And we want to thank you so much for everything. I think that is the information with Primo that will come out in the next. We'll address that. And I just want to say thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.